Yo, good evening. Happy 250th birthday and happy 4th of July, USA, International, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, the tri state areas of New Jersey, Connecticut, plus the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your man and homie, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, rhymes with now or later, just like the candy. Your host with the most, misunderstood lonely nomad, unstoppable independent podcaster, creator, YouTuber, Queens, New York native who is also a New York Giants fan, New York Knicks fan, and of course a New York a New York Mets fan from the neck of the woods of Laurelton, Queens, New York. And you are now rocking with me by listening and tuning in and watching the 160th episode of the entertainment review show Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast. This is the platform where I actually talk about some things like TV shows, old and new. Same goes with movies, music news, um, a little bit of gaming. Got some gaming news to talk about and all that great stuff right there. And of course, if you are new to this channel, please make sure you go ahead and click on that subscribe button on the YouTube channel page. Leave a like and a comment alongside with sharing a video to your friends. That's into entertainment such as hip hop, a little bit of music, a little bit of TV. There's movies. There's video games. And you know what? And you know what really brings people together? Entertainment, sports, and of course, along with TV, movies, and gaming. That's what brings people together. All right. And in case you're wondering what's going on in the background, that's my air conditioner. We had a heat wave. We had a heat wave yesterday and today. Yesterday I couldn't record yesterday because of the heat wave. So so I decided to record it on this 4th of July today in honor of the 250th birthday for the 4th of July. Now, now, as I previously said in episode 159, these episodes are going to be on YouTube for the time being until I get me a new job and a new laptop. So for now, you can actually watch the episodes on YouTube anytime, any day of the week. All right. So there you go, right there, man. I mean, all right, we got some music stuff to talk about here. And Ti's final album. Yes, it is. And the reason why it's his final album is because he's in his 40s. So that's pretty much what it is. Now, let's get into the music Kool-Aid of things right here, right now. Let's get into the music Kool-Aid. My apologies. Um, my internet was acting a little strange actually, so please forgive me. As I was saying before, we got some music stuff to talk about, including Ti's final album. And all right, so yeah, so according to Complex, here are some key takeaways. Ti's 12th and reportedly final album, "Kill the King," doubles as a legacy statement that leans into his song turbulent career while staging a star-studded send-off with guests like Youngboy, Never Broke Again, and Anderson .Paak. The project is his most unapologetically Atlanta work in years, turning into a hometown family affair with appearances from Summer Walker, Jeezy, 2 Chainz, Usher, Tiny, and their daughters Zanique and Eris. The album is powered by nostalgic callbacks to trap music and Paper Trail, and big name production from Dr. Dre, Pharrell, aka Scorpio P, no Skateboard P, excuse me, Skateboard P, DJ Tump, Organized Noise, Juicy J, and more. The album's emotional core comes when Ti vulnerably eulogizes late manager Clay Evans on Double L. Hold on, L Log Clay. Um, this past March was the 20-year anniversary of Ti's fourth studio album, King. Fans didn't realize at the time, but the moment ended up being a career zenith for a rapper who, in 5 short years, has seemingly lived the ups and downs of a career spanning decades. A debut that flopped, followed by a breakout hit, followed by a short jail stint, followed by memorable beef, followed by an even bigger global breakout. And from there, the ups and downs would continue. A disappointing follow up album to King, another jail stint, then another smash album in Paper Trail. In short, Ti has had a long career, maybe which maybe explains why he's ready to call it quits. The rapper has released his 12th studio album, Kill the King. It's his first in 6 years since the underwhelming the Libra, and it's easily his best since Trouble Man Heavy is the Head in 2012. The title Kill the King has been a concept Ti has been playing with for years. During the Breakfast Club interview in 2017, he talked about the title, saying, "Ever since my first album, I've put the title of King of the South on me, and to make to make yourself the kings is to make you a target. And in chess, the object is to kill the king. So Kill the King is the title of my last album. Will they kill him, or will he ride into the sunset happily ever after?" His comments sound dark, but it doesn't reflect the overall tenure of the album. If anything, Kill the King sees Ti try to cover as many bases as possible. It leans into the past and star power, and it sees him strive to make commercial hits. He has one with Pharrell on Let 'Em Know, but there is also signs he's playing with contemporary sounds, like collaborating with Youngboy, Never Broke Again. So, is this a worthy final album from one of Atlanta's greatest rappers? We dig into that and more. Here are our key takeaways from T.I.'s final album, Kill the King. This is easily T.I.'s most Atlanta album in years. Kill the King is essentially an Atlanta block party, primarily rallying guests from various eras and corners of T.I.'s beloved hometown. 20 years after starring in ATL, Tip recruits Summer Walker for a rink ready out excuse me, roller rink ready anthem and won't that nods to this city's skates culture. The Dream sings about lifestyle inflation on how it went. Jeezy and Two Chains reminisce wistfully about days of cooking up crack on Dope Boys Academy. You can almost see the tears welling up in their eyes, and Usher pops up on Gorgeous to help Ti serenade his wife Tamika Tiny Harris. Speaking of Tiny, Kill the King is also a family affair. Her daughter Zanique, Star Pollins, appears on Ego with OMG Girls. Their youngest daughter, Aris Harris, handles the intro, A King's Thought. Curiously absent is their son, Damani, who appeared on Libra and is fresh off two blistering 50 Cent disses earlier this year. Um, Nostalgia is the driving force of the album. When T.I. dropped Let 'Em Know back in January, longtime fans wondered if his recording booth doubled as a time machine. The raw energy, bouncy flow, and slurred southern drawl were all reminiscent of his Rubber Band Man era, but it's not the only track that draws from back in the day. Tip channels the past with Rant, a vent session that recalls the breathlessness of Paper Trail's I'm Illy, while fitting the sonic profile of trap music, dark piano keys, rapid drum programming, and wailing vocal sample. Pistol on the dance floor reaches back long before trap music, reviving Keith Sweat's 1987 hit Don't Stop Your Love to create one of the album's most infectious bops. But not every gesture toward the past works so brilliantly. Dope Boys Academy sounds more dated than dope, with a stale T-Pain hook and gone percussion that'd be best left in 2008. The production star power on the album is crazy. T.I. called in the kind of all-star production team you'd expect to hear on his Swan song. Dr. Dre chefs up propulsive kicks, snares, and strings for the Anderson Paak featured Where I'm From, while DJ Toomp, DJ Tomp's serene synths color the 3-minute lyrical showcase. See what I'm saying? After lacing Let 'Em Know, Pharrell provides another bouncy hit with I'm Him. Together, the two songs make you wonder why T.I. and P never locked in and made a full album together. With Organized Noise, Turbo, and Juicy J among the album's A-list producers, Kill the King is musically diverse project that shifts between laid-back lyrical displays and songs you can't help but dance to. Trauma Bond, and Big Dog, crafted by Mr. Hanky and former Hitman producer Andreo Fanatic Heard, respectively, each inject life into the track list with their live band energy. The latter, with its electric guitar funk, feels a bit out of place. But Trauma Bond, powered by Tuskegee University's Marching Crimson Pipers, delivers an HBCU stamped salute fit for homecoming kings and the king of the South alike. Ti is at his most vulnerable when hold on, eulogizing former manager Clay Evans on El La Clay. We've heard Ti mourn through his music. Lived in the Sky from 2006, but Hey, sorry about that. Yeah, unfortunately, my internet's acting a little crazy. Um, just bear with me here, folks. Um, yeah, as I was saying before, my internet was acting a little strange. Um, so now I'm grieving, drunk, just speeding in the fucking rain. Besides the pain, I feel, I feel nothing, man. And if I could, I guess I'd feel like a snowfall episode. My Uncle Jerome died in real life. Tip raps. Young boy never broke again chips in a stellar verse about fake love, survival, and gratitude. But for T.I.L. Log Clay is a rare moment where his steely cool is punctured. Kill the King is no trap music, but still a worthy final album. Ti built his career on bridging the gap, excuse me, bridging the trap, jumping thump of 24s or top back with pop rap mega hits like Whatever You Like or Live Your Life. You won't find the latter on Kill the King, and that's for the best. The big records here, pistol on the floor, let him know, all sit comfortably in his lane. While his rhymes reflect the wizened perspective of a middle-aged man who has been rich longer than he hasn't. Tip is endearing when skimming through his marriage origin story and won't. But more often he retraces his steps from bankhead to bank rolls. You hear it on how it went, where I'm from, and Continental, where he's especially prideful, from the Lincoln Continental on them hammers with the hammer to the most successful from the west side of Atlanta, from elementary public school. I've been standing on my own too to Forest City prison yard used to get them phones through. When he's not looking backwards, Ti tends to grumble about the present. Honestly, same. On ego, he longs for a time when tourists weren't so abundant in the A. He groans about OnlyFans and declining employment rates on Represent a Time, and elsewhere takes aim at internet cats. So like everybody, these niggas they be suckers for clicks. A bitch for the algorithm. Tip raps on trauma bond. Traded in your self respect for attention. Nigga traded in your morals for a mention. King, excuse me, Kill the King doesn't have the firepower to stack up with the gems like Urban Legend or King. But the album stands on its own as a solid booking that plays to T.I.'s strengths. Time will tell if it's his last hurrah. The final words spoken on the album are to be continued. I hate that phrase. But if so, Tip can walk away with his head high and crown title to the left, like always. You know why he's retiring from music? Because he wants to do films. He wants to do films. That's why. And I get it. I get it. I completely understand this. You know what I'm saying? I completely understand this. So yeah, that's very, very understandable. Very understandable. Um, okay. Let me see. Okay. I don't have. All right, we're gonna get into some movie stuff in a second. Let's see. Let me see. Hip hop news. Oh, wait a minute here. Wait a minute here. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. So this is hip hop news actually. So here we go. I didn't know that. So, um, Netflix renews Courtney A. Kemp's Nemesis for a second season. So the series which stars Wyland Noel from Insecure and Matthew Law Abbott Elementary follows two men on different sides of the law. Nemesis will return following a very successful first season on Netflix. The original series from the mind of Kemp premiered on the streamer back in May, spending 5 weeks on Netflix global top 10 English language TV charts and eventually earning the top spot in its second week of availability. Courtney A. Kemp, Power's original creator, is possibly building a streaming franchise with Nemesis, which has officially been ordered to a second season on Netflix. Variety reports that Nemesis will return following a very successful first season on Netflix. The original series from the mind of Kemp premiered on the streamer back in May. 5 weeks on Netflix's global top 10 English language TV charts and eventually earning the top spot in its um, second week of availability. Nemesis co-creator and executive producer Tanny Moreau spoke on the show's return. Season two, we're very grateful to have it. We're going to make sure those questions get answered, and even more questions are available for you to answer, Moreau said, according to Variety. Make no mistakes, season two is going to be bigger and better. Courtney A. Kemp says she feels blessed to see Nemesis get a second season. Kemp added, I feel blessed to get a season two. We thank the fans. It's because of them. There's no other reason. It's them showing up, them talking about it, and their huge social media response. We are grateful to Netflix for recognizing the power of our audience and bringing us back for the fans. Yes, so the series, which stars Wyland Noel and Matthew Law, follows two men on different sides of the law. Noel plays an expert criminal who is butting heads with a brilliant detective played by Law. The official law line for the show reads: Nemesis is the story of two men on either side of the law. The tale of what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. What starts as a crime series amped with thrilling life or death stakes and explosive action drives deeper to explore family, marriage, and personal identity. That which drives us, sustains us, and ultimately destroys us. Congratulations to the TV show Nemesis that's on Netflix. It got season two. Um, yeah, I want to make some noise. Let's make some noise for Nemesis getting a season two. Let's make some noise. I don't know too much about. I never had a chance to watch it, but I don't have stars. But I will find a way to actually check it out when I get a chance. Um. So yeah, there you go. right. Now we are going to get into some movies. So let's get into the movie Man Cave Popcorn Lounge. Now, because the name of the episode is water all over, we're gonna get soaked and wet, which is basically we're gonna be talking about some water movies. All right, we got some water movies that we gotta talk about here, actually. So let's get to it right here. All right, starting with The Perfect Storm. All right, so The Perfect Storm is a 2000 American disaster drama film directed by Wolfgang Peterson and based on the 1997 creative nonfiction book of the same name by Sebastian Junger. The film was adapted by William D. Whitliff with an uncredited rewrite by Bo Goldman and tells the story of Andrea Gale, a commercial fishing vessel that was lost at sea with all hands after being caught in the perfect storm of 1991. The film stars George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, Diane Lane, William Fichtner, Karen Allen, Bob Gunton, Mary Elizabeth Mastra Mastrantonio, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, and John C. Riley. Okay. So, all right. So, The Perfect Storm was released on June 30th, 2000 by Warner Brothers Pictures. The film received mixed reviews. It grossed $328 million worldwide, becoming the 8th highest grossing film of 2000 on a budget between $120 million to $140 million. All right. Um, all right. Let's get to it. All right, let's start with the production. Wolfgang Peterson asked Harrison Ford to play the lead role, but Ford declined. His second choice was Nicolas Cage, who also turned it down. And Mel Gibson was offered the role, but wanted too much money. In June 1999, it was officially announced that Diane Lane would be cast in the film as Bobby's girlfriend. The Perfect Storm was partially filmed in and Gloucester, Massachusetts. A ship similar to Andrea Gale, Lady Grace, was used during the filming of the movie. Now, let's go to the reception. The Perfect Storm was a box office success. It achieved the third highest number of theaters of any film upon its debut, with a total of 3,407 locations, trailing only behind Mission Impossible 2 and Scream 3. On its opening weekend, the film debuted with $41.3 million ahead of Sony's The Patriot. At the time, The Perfect Storm scored the third highest 4th of July opening weekend after Independence Day and Men in Black. The film also had the second highest opening weekend for a George Clooney film, behind Batman and Robin. Additionally, it beat Lethal Weapon 4 to secure the highest July opening weekend for a Warner Brothers film. It eventually brought in over $182.6 million in the United States and $146.1 million around the world, to a total of $328.7 million worldwide. Critical response goes like this. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 47% based on 137 reviews, with an average rating of 5.6 out of 10. The site's critics' consensus reads, while the special effects are done well and quite impressive, this film suffers a lack of any actual drama or characterization. Wow. The end result is a film that offers nifty eye candy and nothing else. Metacritic assigned the film a weighted average score of 59 out of 100 based on 36 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B plus on an A plus to F scale. The New York Times reviewed was mixed. This gusty oceanic epic has Lollapalooza special effects and gripping ensemble performances, but its quotient of human drama is finally too stingy for the personal stories of a group of New England fishermen battling the storm of the century to hit the emotional bullseye when in its final scenes the movie desperately tries to churn up some of the celestial schmaltz of Titanic. That's a different movie. It is too little too late and feels obligatory despite the abundance of heart and chemistry that Mark Wahlberg and Diane Lane bring to their roles of a wildly in love young couple. Mr. Clooney conveys a darkly heroic gravity, but his lack of even a trace of New England accents makes him too socially out of place in a cast words in a cast whose other members get the regional dialect more or less right. Jay Carr of the Boston Globe wrote, "The Perfect Storm is much more than a seagoing twister." Jeffrey Westhoff of Northwest Herald gave the film a rating of 2 out of 4, saying, once the digital effects commence, The Perfect Storm has all the impact of watching a friend play Nintendo. Damn! Really? Really? Really though? You're gonna compare this movie to Nintendo? Peter Bradshaw and The Guardian gave a mixed review, praising the cast but criticizing the effects and pacing. Among the film's more positive reviewers was Roger Ebert, calling the film a well-crafted example of a film of pure sensation and giving it three and a half out of 4. Accolades includes the film was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for Best Sound. John T. Wright's Greg Rudloff, David E. Campbell, and Keith A. Wester. And Best Visual Effects, Walt Conti, Stephen Fangmeyer, John Fraser, and Habib Zargarpur, but lost both to Gladiator. Damn. It was also nominated for a Stinker Award for Most Intrusive Musical Score and the Saturn Awards for Best Action Adventure Thriller Film. Damn. That's gotta suck, man. Well, let's go on to Poseidon. Okay. Poseidon is a 2006 American action disaster film directed and co-produced by Wolfgang Peterson. It is the third film adaptation of Paul Gallico's 1969 novel, The Poseidon Adventure. It stars Kurt Russell, Josh Lucas, and Richard Dreyfuss, and Emmy Rossum, Jacinda Barrett, Mike Vogel, Mia Maestro, Jimmy Bennett, and Andre Brauger in supporting roles. Well, and so the film was produced by Virtual Studios and distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. It had a simultaneous release in IMAX format. It was released on May 12th, 2006, and it was criticized for its lackluster script, but was praised for its visuals and was nominated at the 79th Academy Awards for Best Visual Effects. It grossed $181 million worldwide on a budget of $160 million. However, after the cost of promotion and distribution, Warner Brothers lost $70 to $80 million on the film, making it a box office bomb as a result. Oh boy, I don't get it. It made yeah. I don't get it though. I really don't get it. I'm not gonna get into the math of this though, but it did make back its money. I mean, I don't really get why. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's get to. I'm not gonna go over. Anyway, let's get to the reception. Hold on. No, let's get to the production of this movie. In February 2004, it was reported that Wolfgang Peterson and producer Mike Fleiss were teaming up for a new adaptation of Paul Gallico's The Poseidon Adventure, which was previously been adapted in 1972 for Warner Brothers Pictures. The film came out about due to both Fleiss and Peterson being interested in a remake of The Poseidon Adventure, with Fleiss being a fan of the original film and Peterson feeling with the advancements in computer-generated imagery and the success of his own The Perfect Storm, that the time was right for a remake. At the time of the announcement, it was reported that Peterson only intended to serve as a producer on the film. As part of the agreement to get development of the film started, Fleiss had to promise original producer Irwin Allen's family he would not direct the film after they initially expressed reservations due to Fleiss directing Drunken Jackasses: The Quest. The February 2005, it was reported that production on The Poseidon Adventure would begin that year for a May 5th, 2006 release date, with Peterson directing. In June of that year, it was reported that the screenplay had been written by Mark Protosevich and Akiva Goldsman, and Kurt Russell, Richard Dreyfuss, and Emmy Rossum had been cast in the film. Warner Brothers executive Alan F. Horn helped push the film forward through development, as he thought the combination of impressive effects and Peterson's direction would lead to similar success experienced by 20th Century Fox when they released The Day After Tomorrow. But according to various insiders, the script had problems that led to it growing through multiple rewrites and proved challenging in signing major names to the cast. So the production on the film began in July 2005. Sets as with the 1972 The Poseidon Adventure, which based many of its sets on rooms aboard the RMS Queen Mary. The film's set designers drew inspiration for some of the spaces and the exterior aboard the fictional Poseidon from rooms aboard RMS Queen Mary 2, most notably in Poseidon's ballroom, which is partly modeled from the dining room on Queen Mary 2. on the soundstage at Warner Brothers Studio, Burbank in California. Two sets for each main room were built. One right side up and the other upside down. The upside down ballroom was built on top of a large water tank in the soundstage so it could be flooded and drained in a matter of hours. The interior and exterior shots of the ship were the interior and exterior shots of the ship rolling were constructed with computer generated imagery. Visual effects, excuse me. The primary visual effects were completed by Industrial Light and Magic and Moving Picture Company. ILM used the most advanced version of mental rays rather, to photorealistically light and render the shots, and was responsible for all of the ship's exterior shots. The most complicated work with excuse me, the most complicated work was the opening shot of the ship, where the camera tours the ship's exterior. It lasts for 2.5 minutes. It featured one of the most complex digital models ILM had ever created. For water simulations, proprietary software known as FizzBAM was used, created in collaboration with Stanford University. Harold Howie Weed was the film's computer graphics modeler. Digital interiors and water effects were created by MPC, while liquid and gaseous effects were simulated with Scanline VFX proprietary software Flowline. Other shots were done by CIS Hollywood with water effects simulated using real flow. All right. Let's go to reception. So it grossed $22,155,410 on its opening weekend for an average of $6,232 from 3,555 theaters, finishing in second place behind Mission Impossible 3. It eventually earned $60,674,817 in the United States and $121 million in foreign markets for a total gross of $181,674,817. After all costs were factored in, Poseidon lost approximately $70 to $80 million for Warner Brothers. Critical response on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes. Poseidon has a score of 33% based on 204 reviews with an average rating of 4.8 out of 10. The consensus reads, the remake of the Poseidon adventure delivers dazzling special effects. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that any of the budget was left over to devote to the script. On Metacritic, which assesses films on a score out of 100, Poseidon has a rating of 50 based on 36 reviews, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave it an average grade B on an A plus to F scale. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times wrote, Peterson's heart isn't in it. He is too wise a director to think this is first-rate material and too good a director to turn it into enjoyable trash. In a 2 out of 4 review, John Nickham of Lawrence Journal World described it as the cinematic equivalent of a Carnival cruise. Brian Lowry of Variety wrote, Wolfgang Petersen's large-scale liner moves reasonably well, though anyone with the faintest memory of the 1972 predecessor will wonder where most of the where most of the pilot went. And the dialogue is so stilted, it can honestly be said, the less the better. Oh boy. Damn. Oh wow. That's that wow. That's crazy, man. Um, let's see. The next movie is Waterworld. Yes. Waterworld is a 1995 American post-apocalyptic action film directed by Kevin Reynolds and co-written by Peter Rader and David T. Wohe. Excuse me, David Too High. David Too High or David Too He. David Too High, however you pronounce it, I don't really care. Anyway, it was based on Rader's original 1986 screenplay and stars Kevin Costner, who also produced it with Charles Gordon and John Davis, and distributed by Universal Pictures. Yeah, so Kevin Costner's in there, Dennis Hopper, Gene Triplehorn, Tina Majorino, and Michael Jeter. No relation to Derek Jeter, of course. All right. So the setting of the film is in a distant future. The polar ice caps have completely melted, and the sea level has risen over 7,600 meters, which is 25,000 feet, covering nearly all of the land. The plot of the film centers on a nameless anti-hero, the Mariner, a drifter who sails the earth in his and trimaran. The most expensive film ever made at the time, Waterworld was released to mixed reviews from critics who praised the futuristic setting and premise, but criticized the execution, including the characterization and acting performances. The film also was unable to recoup its massive budget at the box office, despite being the ninth highest grossing film of 1995. However, the film did later become profitable owing to video and other post cinema sales. The film was nominated for an Academy Award in the category Best Sound at the 68th Academy Awards. The film's release was accompanied by a novelization, video games, and a quartet of themed attractions at Universal Studios Hollywood, Universal Studios Singapore, Universal Studios Japan, and Universal Studios Beijing, called Waterworld. Let me see. So the budget for this movie is between 172 to 175 million dollars, and it made 264.2 million dollars. Yeah. Let's go to the production. All right. So, what writer Peter Rader came up with the idea for Waterworld during a conversation with Brad Crevoy, where they discussed creating a Mad Max ripoff. Rader wrote the initial script in 1986, but kept it shelved until 1989. Rader cited Mad Max as a direct inspiration for the film, while also citing various Old Testament stories and the story of Helen of Troy, uh, with the main female character being named Helen in the direct reference. It is also widely believed that inspiration was taken from Freak Wave by Peter Milligan and Brandon McCarthy, a Mad Max Ghost Surfing comic strip first published by Pacific Comics and Vanguard Illustrated, number numbers 1 through 3. November 1983, March 1984, and continued by Eclipse Comics in Strange Days, numbers 1 through 3, 1984, November 1984 through April 1985. McCarthy himself had unsuccessfully tried to sell Freakwave as a movie in the early 1980s. He would go on to co-write Mad Max Fury Road 2015. After several rewrites, Kevin Costner and Kevin Reynolds joined the Waterworld production team in 1992. The film marked the fourth collaboration between Costner and Reynolds, who had previously worked together on Fandango, on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Rapa Nui, the latter of which Costner co-produced but did not star in. Waterworld was co-written by David Twohy, who cited Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior as a major inspiration. Both films employed by Dean Semler as director of photography. Um, during the during production, the film was plagued by a series of cost overruns and production setbacks. Universal initially authorized a budget of $100 million, which by mid 1994 has swollen to $135 million, with final costs reaching an estimated $175 million, a record sum, for film production at the time. Filming took place in a large artificial seawater enclosure similar to what used in the film Titanic 2 years later. It was located in the Pacific Ocean off the west coast of Hawaii Island. The final scene was filmed in Waipaio Valley on Hawaii Island, also referred to as the Valley of Kings. Additional filming took place in Los Angeles, Huntington Beach, and Santa Catalina Island in California. Before filming began, Steven Spielberg had warned Costner and Reynolds not to film on open water owing to his own production difficulties with Jaws. The production was hampered by difficulties in obtaining otherwise simple shots due to poor weather, safety concerns, and the camera crew being pushed out of position by waves. One of the floating sets sank in heavy seas and had to be repaired. Eventually, the production had to be extended by nearly 3 months, from 96 days to over 150. The state of Hawaii had more than $35 million added to its economy as a result of the colossal film production. The production featured different types of personal watercraft, especially Kawasaki jet skis. Kevin Costner was on the set for 157 days, working 6 days a week. At one point, he nearly died when he got caught in a squall while tied to the mast of his trimaran. Professional surfer Laird Hamilton was Kevin Costner's stunt double for many water scenes. Hamilton commuted to the set via jet ski. Mark Isham's score, which was not recorded for approximately 25% of the film and had only demos completed, was reportedly rejected by Costner because it was too ethnic and bleak, contrasting with the film's futuristic and adventurous tone. Isham offered to try again but was not given the chance. James Newton Howard was brought in to write the new score. Joss Whedon flew out to the set to do last-minute script rewrites and later described it as 7 weeks of hell. The work boiled down to editing and Costner's ideas without alteration. Inspired by racing trimarans built by Genu Advanced Technologies multi-hull division. Lagoon, a custom 60-foot, 18-meter yacht, was designed by Mark Van Peetgem. Pete, yeah, Pete. Hold on. Mark Van Peetgem. Peetgem. Okay, and Vincent Laureat Prevost, and built in France by Lagoon. Two versions were built: a relatively standard racing trimaran for distance shots, and an effects-laden transforming trimaran for close-up shots. The first trimaran was launched on April 2nd, 1994, and surpassed 30 knots. That's 56 kilometers. Yeah, yeah, 56 kilometers, 35 miles per hour in September of that year. The transforming version was initially a raft with a 3-blade egg beater windmill. Damn. When certain levers were triggered, the windmill blades flattened, and a hidden mast is raised to full racing height. A boom previously hidden in the hull emerged, and two sails were automatically unfurled. 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 Once the transformation was complete, this version could actually sail, though not as well as the dedicated racer. The transforming version is in private hands in San Diego, California. For many years, the racing version was kept on a lake at Universal Studios, Florida, before being restored for use as a racing trimaran named Low Rio, which was, as of 2012, being offered for sale in San Diego. Kevin Reynolds quit the film before its release owing to heated battles with Costner over his creative decisions. Reynolds still received full credit as director, despite their reported clashes. The director and star reunited almost 2 decades later for the History Channel miniseries Hatfields and McCoys. All right, let's go to the reception for Waterworld's reported budget, which was $172 million, and a total outlay of $235 million once marketing the distribution costs are factored in. Because of the runaway cost of the production, some critics dubbed it fish tar. Oh shit. And Kevin's Gate, alluding to the flops um um Ishtar and Heaven's Gate. The film debuted at the box office at number 1. For its first weekend, Waterworld collected a total of $21.6 million. At the end of its run, the film grossed $88 million at the North American box office and $176 million overseas, for a worldwide total of $264 million. Taking into account the percentage of box office gross that theaters retain, which is generally up to half, Waterworld is considered a box office disappointment. Well, damn. After factoring in home video sales and TV broadcast rights, among other revenue streams, it eventually became profitable. Critical response: contemporary review for the film were mixed. Roger Ebert gave Waterworld 2.5 stars out of 4 and said, in quote, "This cost controversy aside, Waterworld is a decent futuristic action picture with some great sets, some intriguing ideas, and a few images that will stay with me. It could have been more, it could have been better, and it could have made me care about the characters. It's one of those marginal pictures you are not unhappy to have seen, but can't quite recommend. Gleberman gave it a B in Entertainment Weekly. He commented that while its massive budget had paid off by genuinely creating the sensation of a world built on water, the film generally came off as a second-rate ripoff of The Road Warrior, with weaker, slower-paced action sequences and less startling villains. He praised Costner's performance, but found the film's environmental message pretentious. James um, Barandent, hold on, James James Barardinelli of Real Views Movie Reviews was one of the film's few supporters, calling it one of Hollywood's most lavish features to date. He wrote, although the storyline isn't all that invigorating, the action is. And that's what saves Waterworld. in the tradition of the old westerns and Mel Gibson's Mad Max flicks, this film provides most escapist fun. Everyone behind the scenes did their part with aplomb, and the result is a feast for the eyes and ears. Mick LaSalle, reviewing the film the week of its release on home video, argued that it did not deserve some of its more negative reviews, since despite its confused impulses and occasional slow spots, Waterworld has an elusive, appealing spirit that holds up for more than 2 hours. It's a genuine vault at greatness that misses the mark, but survives. He commented that while the film succeeds at its high ambitions for isolated moments, the clash between its earnest ambition and intrusive flashiness makes it generally fall short of its reach. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 61% based on 137 reviews, with an average rating of 6 out of 10. The site's critics' consensus reads, though it suffered from toxic buzz at the time of its release, Waterworld is ultimately an ambitious misfire, an extravagant sci-fi flick with some decent moments and a lot of silly ones. Metacritic assigned the film a weighted average score of 56 out of 100 based on 17 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A plus to F scale. In a 2020 retrospective, Ben Child of The Guardian described it as a perfectly watchable sci-fi classic. I'm not going to say the C word. That deserves appraisal. He acknowledged that much of the plot was illogical and absurd, and some of the action set pieces preposterously ambitious, but argued that both of them offer excitement and B movie charm. Cast and director's reception. Kevin Costner said he's very fond of the film. It stands up as a really exotic, cool movie. I mean, it was flawed for sure, but overall, it's a very inventive, cool movie. It's pretty robust. Dennis Hopper also enjoyed it, saying, I thought Waterworld got a bad name for itself in the United States, but it did really well in Europe and Asia. I think the studio sort of shot themselves in the foot by announcing it was so over budget, blah blah blah. it's going to be a failure. All this came out before we released it in the States, but I enjoyed it. In retrospect, director Kevin Reynolds said, "My own personal take on the picture is that I don't think it's any better, any worse than most summer blockbusters. It's somewhere in the middle. I think, yeah, it certainly got its faults, but I think on another level, I think it works quite well compared to some of other the other big films. But by the end, people they wanted it to be a disaster. Shit. Academy Awards. Um, Steve Maslow, Greg um, Landaker, and Keith A. Wester got a nomination for Best Sound. British Academy Film Awards, Michael J. McAllister, um, Brad Kuan, Robert Spurlock, and Martin Brayson all got nominations for Best Special Visual Effects. Let's not go. I'm not going to go over the Golden Raspberry Awards. I'm not going to do that. Saturn Awards. John Bloomfield got a nomination for Best Science Fiction Film, Best Costume, and of course, Best DVD or Blu-ray Special Edition release. Okay. So there you go, right there. All right. So let's go on to our next water movie. Our next water movie is going to be Moana. It's going to be Moana. Moana is a 2016 American animated musical adventure film produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios and directed by John Musker and Ron Clements from a screenplay by Jared Bush. The film stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Uli Carvalho in her feature film debut. Its songs were written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, Apatia Fo'i, and Mark Mancina, who also composed the score. All right. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, there you go. So the budget for this movie, let's see. So the budget of the movie is 150 to 175 million dollars. Not bad. Um, Set in ancient Polynesia, the film follows Moana, the strong-willed daughter of a village chief who is chosen by the ocean to restore a mystical relic to the goddess Te When a blight when a blight threatens her island, she sets sail in search of Maui, a legendary demigod, in hopes of saving her people. The screenplay draws inspiration from Polynesian mythology. Moana premiered at the AFI Fest at the El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles on November 14th, 2016, and was released theatrically in the United States on November 23rd. The film received positive reviews from critics and was a commercial success, grossing $687 million worldwide. Ooh, yes, $687 million worldwide. Um, at the 89th Academy Awards, it received nominations for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song for How Far I'll Go. The film later became a major streaming success on Disney Plus, ranking among the most watched films in the United States during the early 2020s. A sequel, Moana 2, was released in 2024 with the second sequel in the works, and of course, a live action remake is scheduled for release in July. Yeah, it's in July 2026. So there you go, right there. All right. So there you go, right there. Yeah, I'm not gonna go over all these because there's all right. So voice cast of the movie, Uli Cravalho as Moana, the curious daughter of village chief Tui, and his wife Sina, who is chosen by the ocean to restore the heart of Tifiti. Um, Cravalho reprised her role in the film's Hawaiian language version. Louise Bush as young Moana, Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Maui, a legendary and strong-willed yet egotistical shape-shifting demigod who sets off with Moana on her journey. Rachel House as Tala, Tui's mother, and Moana's paternal grandmother. Like Moana, Tyler shares a passion for the ocean, and the two have a deep bond. House reprised her role in the films. Maori language dub. T. Mura Morrison as Tui, Moana's overprotective father, Sina's husband, and Tala's son. He is chief of Montuni Island. Morrison reprised his role in the film's Maori language dub. Christopher Jackson as Tui's singing voice. Jermaine Clement as um, Tamatoa, a giant villainous treasure hoarding coconut crab from La, La, Lalotai, the realm of monsters and Maui's nemesis. Clement reprised his role in the film's Maori language dub. Nicole Scherzinger as Sina, Moana's mother, Tui's wife, and chiefess of Motuni. Scherzinger also reprised her role in the film's Hawaiian language dub. Um, Alan Tudyk as Hi Moana's pet rooster. Tudyk also voices villager number 3, an old man who suggests cooking Hi. Oscar Kitely as a fisherman. Troy Polamalu as villager number 1. So there you go, right there. Now we go to the production. All right, so after directing The Princess and the Frog 2009, Clements and Musker started working on an adaptation of Terry Pratchett's Mort, but problems with acquiring the necessary film rights prevented them from continuing with that project. To avoid a recurrence of that issue, they pitched 3 original ideas. The genesis of one of those occurred in 2011 when Musker began reading up on Polynesian mythology and learned of the heroic exploits of the demigod Maui. Intrigued with the rich culture of Polynesia, he felt it would be a suitable subject for an animated film. Shortly thereafter, Musker and Clements wrote a treatment and pitched it to John Lasseter, who recommended that both of them should go on research trips. Accordingly, in 2012, Clements and Musker went on research trips to Fiji, Samoa, and Tahiti to meet the people of the South Pacific Ocean and learn about their culture. At first, they had planned to make the film entirely about Maui, but their initial research trips inspired Clements to pitch a new idea focused on the young daughter of a chief. Clements and Musker were fascinated to learn during their research that the people of Polynesia abruptly stopped making long distance voyages about 3,000 years ago. Polynesian navigational traditions had long predated those European explorers. Beginning around 300 CE, native people of the Pacific possessed knowledge of the world and their place in it prior to the incursion of foreigners. For example, Kanaka Maoli, native Hawaiians, were well aware of the existence of faraway islands, had names for these places, and were interested in exploring them to benefit their societies. This voyaging heritage was made possible by a uh, geographical knowledge system based on individual perspective rather than the the European cardinal direction system. The reasons for the halt of this voyaging tradition remain unknown, but scholars have offered climate change and resulting shifts in ocean currents and wind patterns as one possible explanation. Native peoples of the Pacific resumed voyaging again 1,000 years later. Clements and Musker set the film at that point in time about 2,000 years ago on a fictional island in the central Pacific Ocean, which drew inspiration from elements of the real life island nations of Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga. Over the 5 years it took to develop and produce the film, Clements and Musker recruited experts from across the South Pacific to form an oceanic story trust who, who consulted on the film's cultural accuracy and sensitivity as the story evolved through 9 versions. The trust responded negatively, for example, to a depiction of Maui as bald and to a proposed scene in which Moana threw a tantrum by throwing coconuts. In response, Maui was reworked with long hair and the coconut scene was scrapped. During the 2015 D23 Expo's panel for Disney's slate of upcoming animated films, Moana's last name was given as uh, Awaliki, but that last name was not retained in the final film. The first draft of the screenplay was written by Taika Waititi. Waititi left his position with Disney and went home to New Zealand in 2012 to focus on his newborn first child and What We Do in the Shadows. Years later, Waititi joked that all that was left of his original draft was EXT Ocean Day. The first draft focused on Moana as the sole daughter in a family with 5 or 6 brothers, in which gender played into the story. However, the brothers and the gender based theme were deleted from the story, as the directors thought Moana's journey should be about finding herself. A subsequent draft presented Moana's father as the one who wanted to resume navigation, but it was rewritten to have him oppose navigation so he would not overshadow Moana. Instead, Pamela Reban came up with an idea of a grandfather character for the film who would serve as a mentor, linking Moana to ancient traditions. Another version focused on Moana rescuing her father, who had been lost at sea. The film's story changed drastically during the development phase, and that idea ultimately survived only as a subtle um, element of the father's backstory. Um, Tika was referred to in early drafts of the film as Tipo, a reference to the Maori goddess Hainui Te Po, who was originally the life-giving goddess Hein Te Tama, but became the goddess of death upon discovering that her husband, the god um, Tian, was also her father. Maui was killed in his failed attempt to bring immortality to humans. Aaron and Jordan Kendall joined the project during a critical period to help deepen the emotional story architecture of the film. They are credited with developing the core relationship between Moana and Maui, the prolonged, the cave and the wayfinders, the Keika Mora and the collector crab Tamatoa, um, played by Jermaine Clement. Jared Bush received sole credit as the writer of the final version of the screenplay. Several major story problems were identified in 2015 after the film had already transitioned from development into production. But computer generated films tend to have much shorter production schedules and much larger animation teams. In this case, about 90 animators than traditionally animated films. Since Clements and Musker were already working 12 days and Saturdays, directing such a large team of animators, Don Hall and Chris Williams, who had just finished directing Big Hero 6, came on board as co-directors to fix the film's story issues. The scene in which Maui and Moana encountered the Kakamora is the intentional homage to Mad Max Fury Road. After the filmmakers sat through auditions of hundreds of candidates from across the Pacific, 14-year-old high school freshman um, Uli Kra Ho was cast as the lead character Moana. At that point in time, the design of Moana's face and personality was already complete, and Kra Ho's obvious physical resemblance to her character was simply a coincidence. During animation production, Disney animators were able to integrate some of Ho's mannerisms into Moana's behavior as depicted on screen. The majority of the film's cast members are of Polynesian descent. Uli Cravalho, who plays Moana, and Nicole Scherzinger, Sina, Moana's mother, were born in Hawaii and are of Native Hawaiian heritage. Dwayne Johnson plays Maui, Oscar Kitely Fishman, and Troy Polamalu. Villager number one, excuse me, are the Samoan heritage and New Zealand born Rachel House, Tala Moana's grandmother, Tamura Morrison, Tui, Moana's father, and Jermaine Clement Tamatoa are of Maori heritage. Moana is Clements and Musker's first fully computer animated film. One of the reasons for using computer animation was that the environment, including the ocean, benefited much more from the use of CGI as opposed to traditional animation. The filmmakers have also suggested that three-dimensional computer animation is well suited to the beautiful sculpturing of the faces of the people of the South Pacific. Eric Goldberg worked on the hand-drawn animation used to depict Maui's Maui's sentient tattoos. During early development, the filmmakers considered the possibility of making the film with hand-drawn traditional animation, but only a few early animation tests were made in that style. In the final cut, only Maui's tattoos um, are hand-drawn. The animation crew consulted with the Polynesian Voyaging Society over references of material culture like ship parts, so their textures would be rendered realistically in the final animation. Let's see. Yeah, Moana was produced in a makeshift quarters in a giant warehouse in North Hollywood, while Disney Animation's headquarters building in Burbank was being renovated. Musker observed that Moana was similar in that respect to The Little Mermaid, which was produced in a warehouse in Glendale. Production wrapped on October 20th, 2016. Yeah. So let's see. 2016. All right, let's go to the reception. I'm not gonna go in too deep with all this. Moana grossed $248.7 million in the US and Canada and $438.4 million in other countries for a worldwide total of $687.2 million. On January 22nd and March 16th, 2017, respectively, the film reached the $500 million and $600 million marks, becoming the fourth consecutive Walt Disney Animation Studios film to reach both milestones after Frozen 2013, Big Hero 6 2014, and Zootopia 2016. Although Disney had not disclosed the film's production's budget, the film's production budget. Excuse me. Most of its animated films cost around $150 million. Deadline Hollywood calculated the net profit of the film to be $121.3 million. When factoring together all the expenses and revenues for the film, making it the 12th most profitable release of 2016. In North America, in the United States, Moana was released during the Thanksgiving weekend. The film played in 3,875 theaters, of which a majority of them, 80%, screened it in 3D. It also played in 50 premium large format screens and more than 400 D box screens. It was projected to take in around $50 million in 3 days, with $75 to $85 million in 5 days. Some estimates going as high as $90 million. Deadline.com said the numbers were good for the original Disney film and marked a great rebound for the company in the wake of Pixar's The Good Dinosaur the previous year. Which hold on, where was it? Which had made $55 million over 5 days off a production budget of $175 to $200 million. Moana made $2.6 million from Tuesday paid previews, which began at 7 p.m., the highest ever for Walt Disney Animation Studios film and for a non-Pixar Disney animated film. On its opening day, let me see. It made $15.5 million and a new record for a Walt Disney Animation Studios film opening on Wednesday, breaking Frozen's record, and the biggest opening day ever for a film release or pre-Thanksgiving Day. On Thanksgiving Day, it earned $9.9 million, a decrease of 36% from its previous day. On Black Friday, the highest grossing day of the Thanksgiving stretch, it made $21.8 million, a 127% increase from the day before. Through Sunday, the film posted a 3-day opening weekend worth $56.6 million over its Friday to Sunday debut and $82.1 million from Wednesday to Sunday, the third biggest 3-day Thanksgiving opening behind Frozen and Toy Story 2, and the second biggest 5-day Thanksgiving opening behind Frozen, dethroning Fantastic Beasts, and Where to Find Them off the top spot. Among all films that did not necessarily open in this weekend may have played. Moana ranks sixth among 3-day weekends and fifth among 5-day weekends. The film's opening was considered to be another animated success for the studio after Zootopia and Pixar's Finding Dory posted huge openings respectively the same year in March and June. In its second weekend, the film dropped by about 50% for a total of $28.3 million, a smaller drop than Toy Story 2, Frozen, Tangled, and The Good Dinosaur. As you can hear the fireworks is going on in my neighborhood right now in honor of the 4th of July, 250th birthday that's going down right now. So yeah, the film managed to top the box office for its third weekend, despite competition from newcomers and holdovers, earning $18.5 million while falling by 34%. It became the sixth film of 2016 to top the box office 3 times, following Deadpool, Zootopia, The Jungle Book, Finding Dory, and Suicide Squad. The film was overtaken by Disney's on Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, in its fourth weekend, despite only a marginal decline. It fell to number 6 in its fifth weekend due to competition from 4 new releases: Sing, Passengers, Why Him, and Assassin's Creed. Despite a small drop again, it grossed $2.9 million on Christmas Day. On the holiday week of December 23rd to the 29th, the film finished at number 4 with a gross of $26 million, which was 14% up from the previous week, despite losing over 300 theaters. It finished at number 4 in its sixth weekend, going up 42% and 97% respectively during the 3-day and 4-day weekends. It grossed $3.6 million on New Year's Day. It fell outside the 10 in its eighth weekend, dropping 33% and 4% respectively during the 3-day and 4-day weekends. Outside North America, internationally, the film earned $17.2 million in its first weekend from 12 markets, the bulk of which came from China. In its second weekend, the film expanded to a total of 30 markets, adding an additional $33.7 million. In China, the film had a November 25th opening day with $1.9 million from 38,000 screenings. Oh, man. However, it enjoyed a big weekend bump on Saturday, even though its screens dipped and Sunday. In total, it scored an opening weekend of $12.3 million, the second best for a Disney animated title behind only Zootopia. It was number 2 behind Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Strong social media numbers showed among the highest the studio has seen there, similar to how Zootopia started off slow and later became a blockbuster phenomenon. The film slipped 55% in its second weekend, earning 5.8 million dollars and 21.8 million dollars in total in China. It would eventually earn a total of $32.7 million in China. It has similar successful number one debuts in France, Russia, Mexico, and Spain. The film also saw success in Belgium and the Netherlands and French speaking Switzerland. In the United Kingdom and Ireland, the film faced competition from Fantastic Beasts, which was playing in its third weekend, and as a result, it posted a low opening of only 2.2 million euros, which is $2.8 million. The biggest earning markets to date have been Japan, $45.9 million, followed by France, $35.5 million, China, $32.8 million, the UK, $25.3 million, Brazil, $22.9 million, Australia, $19 million, Germany, $17 million, Italy, $15.9 million, and South Korea, $15.5 million. Critical response on a review aggregator, excuse me, Rotten Tomatoes. On a review aggregator website, Rotten Tomatoes, Moana holds an approval rating of 95% based on 287 reviews and an average rating of 7.9 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, with a title character as three-dimensional as its lush animation and a story that adds fresh depth to Disney's time-tested formula, Moana is truly a family-friendly adventure for the ages. Subsequently, the film is also listed as number 20 on the website's 100 best computer animated movies list. On Metacritic, the film holds a weighted average score of 81 out of 100 based on 44 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A plus to F scale, while Post-Track reported filmgoers gave an 89% overall positive score and a 79% definite recommend. Joe Morgenstern of the Wall Street Journal proclaimed that Moana is beautiful in more ways than I can tell, thanks to the brilliance of more animators than I could count. Animator Eric Goldberg received praise from critics and audiences for his hand-drawn animation of Maui's tattoos, which they claim stole the show from the actual CGI animated motion picture. Y. Chi D-Mock, writing in the Los Angeles Review of Books, compared the ocean in Moana to the one in The Water Baby, a short story by Jack London, saying that both are animated, one by the tension between digital and analog animation, and the other by the tension between the encroaching future and a past in retreat still capable of pushing back. All right. Christy Lemar of RogerEbert.com gave the film 3.5 stars. Excuse me, 3.5 of 4 stars, stating, in quote, its dazzling visuals, catchy tunes, enjoyable performances, clever running gags, and overall sense of film. It's all there, and except for a few scary moments, it'll delight viewers of all ages. Peter DeBruge of Variety praised the film, calling it a return to the heights of the Disney Renaissance. Critics also lauded Moana for centering on a strong female protagonist whose narrative is not confined to finding a Prince Charming, a contrast to princess characters of past Disney films. Brett Lang of Variety wrote, whereas earlier Disney heroines waited around for their prince to come and save the day, Moana takes it upon herself to embark on a perilous oceanic voyage in order to lift her island home from a curse. It's the kind of adventuring that would have been left for the guys in Disney films to yore. Her journey is about finding herself, not landing a husband. A 2026 article published in the Guardian explored the similarities between the film to the 1926 documentary Moana, a silent film by Robert J. Flaherty, set in Samoa. According to the article, film historian Bruce Posner and the academic Dion Fernandi claimed the earlier documentary may have influenced the cultural and philosophic theme of the Disney film. Okay. All right, so you got, let's see. So we have Moana 2. Let's get to that right here. Let's see. So Moana 2 is a 2024 animated musical adventure film produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios, the second animated film in the Moana franchise following the 2016 film. It was directed by David Derrick Jr., Jason Hand, and Dana Ledo Miller, and written by Miller and Jared Bush. Most of the principal cast members reprised their roles, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Uli Cravalho, Rachel House, Tamara Morrison, Nicole Scherzinger, and Alan Tudyk. Set 3 years after the first film, it follows Moana reuniting with the demigod Maui and assembling a wayfinding crew to find the lost island of Motufetu, breaking its curse and reconnect the people of the ocean. Yeah, so the same people reprise their roles. There you go. And let's see. The budget for this film is $150 million. A follow-up to Moana was originally developed as a miniseries for Disney Plus, but by February 2024, it had been reworked into a theatrical sequel. Mark Messina and Apatea Foe, the composers and co-songwriters of the first film, returned to score and co-write the songs, while Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear served as the main songwriters. Moana 2 premiered at the Leniku Honua Cultural Institute in Kapolei, Hawaii on November 21st, 2024, and was released by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures in the United States on November 27th. The film received mixed reviews from critics and grossed $1.059 billion worldwide, outgrossing its predecessor and becoming the third highest grossing film of 2024. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature Film at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards. It's a sequel. A sequel is in development. Wow. All right, I'm gonna go straight to the reception. All right, so Moana 2 grossed $460.4 million in the United States and Canada, and $598.8 million in other territories, for a total of $1.059 billion worldwide. Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net worth as $415 million, accounting for production budgets, marketing, talent, participations, and other costs. Box office grosses, television and streaming, and home media revenues, making Moana 2 the second most profitable film of 2024. In the United States and Canada, Moana 2 was originally projected to gross $105 to $115 million over the 5-day Thanksgiving weekend, after making $57.8 million on its first day, including $13.8 million from Tuesday night previews, both the highest ever for a Walt Disney animation film and Thanksgiving week release. 5-day estimates were raised to $175 to $200 million. It then made a record $28 million on Thanksgiving Day, nearly doubling the 2019 film Frozen 2's previous high of $14.9 million. It went on to debut to $139.8 million and a total of $225 million over the 5 days, breaking Frozen 2's $130.3 million record for the best opening weekend for a Walt Disney animation film and a Thanksgiving weekend release, as well as nearly matching the entire domestic run of the first film, $248.8 million. The worldwide 5-day gross of $389 million surpassed the 2023 film The Super Mario Brothers movie as the highest such opening for an animated film. In its second weekend, the film made $52 million. It dropped to 62.8%, remaining in first. In its third weekend, the film retained the top spot again, grossing $26.6 million, dropping 48% from its second weekend. The film was finally dethroned in its fourth weekend, grossing $13.1 million and finishing in fourth place. On January 19, 2025, the film crossed the $1 billion threshold, becoming the third film released in 2024 to do so. Critical response on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 61% of 245 critics reviews are positive. The website consensus reads, and quote, riding high on the wave of stunning animation even when its story runs adrift. Moana 2 isn't as inspired as the original, but still delights as a colorful adventure. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 58 out of 100, based on 50 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on an A+ to F scale, while those surveyed by PostTrack gave it an 89% overall positive overscore, with 64% saying they would definitely recommend it. Writing for Cinema Blend, Dirk Libby praised Moana 2 as a really good movie, but also noted that it was too obvious that the film had been originally written as a much longer television series and then trimmed down for release as a feature film. Libby pointed out that the film introduces viewers to several interesting characters like Matangi, Loto, Kaylee, and Moni, but fails to explore their backstories, the kind of subplots that would be exactly where I would start to cut if asked to condense several television scripts into a film script. Rad Hayen signed Simone Pillai found the music flat and uninspired. Alison Wilmore argued the film suffers from lack of tension, part of Disney's recent trend away from colorful villains in favor of softer and internal conflicts. Owen Gleiberman called it an okay movie and efficient enough to be a holiday hit, though far more product like than its predecessor. Yeah. American Music Awards, Moana 2 got a nomination for favorite soundtrack. Santiago, Santiago Robles, Mark Bryan, Deborah Carlson, Jake Rice, and Ian J. Cooney got a nomination for Outstanding Achievement for Animated Effects in an Animated Production. This is the Annie Awards. Brian Scott got a nomination for Outstanding Achievement for Character Animation in an Animated Feature Production. Jeremy Milton and Michael Lewis Hill got a nomination for Outstanding Achievement for Editorial in an Animated Feature Film. Ryan Green got a nomination for Outstanding Achievement for Storyboarding in an Animated Feature Production. Dwayne The Rock Johnson for the Black Reel Awards got a nomination for Outstanding Performance, Outstanding Voice Performance to be exact. Celebration of Asian Pacific Cinema and Television. David Derrick Jr., Jason Handy, Dana Lado Miller, Christina Chen, and Yvette Marino for Animation Award. Moana 2 on the Golden Globe Award got a nomination for Best Animated Feature Film. Hollywood Music and Media Awards. Beyond, written by Abigail Barlow and Emily Baer, performed by Uli E. Cravalho. Oh gosh. Let me see. So, Can I Get a Chihu, written by Abigail Barlow and Emily Baer, performed by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, got a nomination for Best Original Song in an Animated Film. And NAACP Image Awards, Moana 2 got a nomination for Outstanding Animated Motion Picture, and of course, the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. It got a nomination for Favorite Animated Movie. Dwayne The Rock Johnson won for Favorite Male Voice from an Animated Voice. Uli E. Cravalho won for Favorite Female Voice from an Animated Movie. Can I Get a Chihu? Dwayne The Rock Johnson got a nomination for Favorite Song from a Movie. Oh, wow. Society of Composers and Lyricists, Lyricist Awards. Beyond, written by Emily Baer and Abigail Barlow, got a nomination for Outstanding Original Song for a Comedy or Musical Visual Media Production. So, Visual Effects Society Awards. Carlos Cabro, Tucker Gilmore, Ian Gooding, Gabriela Hernandez got a nomination for Outstanding Visual Effects in an Animated Feature. Zoran Stojanowski, Jesse Erickson, Shemita Kalamba, Arachi, and Aaron V. Ramos got a nomination for Outstanding Effects Simulations in an Animated Feature. Washington, D.C. Area Film Critics Association. Uli E. Cravalho got a nomination for Best Voice Performance. Let me see. All right. All right. Let me see. Hold on. Wait. Wait a second. Wait just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Stillwater. Tropic Thunder. Deep Water. Oh boy. Okay. Okay, Virus is a 1999 American science fiction horror film directed by visual effects artist John Bruno and starring Jamie Lee Curtis, William Baldwin, and Donald Sutherland. Based on the comic book of the same name by Chuck Farrer, it tells the story of a ship beset by a male, male, malev, malev, hold on, I'm sorry, um, malev, malevolent, no, malevolent, excuse me, malevolent extraterrestrial entity that seeks to turn humanity into cyborg slaves. Oh boy. Yeah, so Joanna Pacula and Marshall Bell. Let me see. Marshall Bell. Hold on. 210. Okay, still scoreless. Okay. Let me see. So the budget of the film, shit. So the budget of the film was $75 million. Shit. So Virus was released by Universal Pictures on January 15, 1999. The film was promoted with a line of action figures and a tie-in video game. It turned out to be a critical and commercial flop by grossing $30.7 million against a $75 million budget, with Curtis herself calling it one of the worst films she has ever been in, but was made oh gosh, a classic following. All right, so Virus was a critical and commercial flop, grossing less than half of its budget and earning negative reviews. Based on 50 reviews, the film holds a 14% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes with an average rating of 3.4 out of 10. The site's consensus states, despite its great effects, this movie's predictability greatly undermines its intensity. On Metacritic, it holds a weighted average score of 19 out of 100 based on 17 reviews, indicating overwhelming dislike. Most critics found the film derivative and unoriginal. Reviewers pointed out similarities with the 1998 film Deep Rising. Roger Ebert gave Virus an even lower rating than Deep Rising, which he considered one of the worst films of 1998 and placed on his most hated list. Many echoed his complaint about the underlit cinematography. Jamie Lee Curtis herself did not think highly of the film. In an IGN.com interview, Curtis had the following to say about Virus: "That would be the all-time piece of shit. It's just dreadful. That's the only good reason to be in bad movies. Then when your friends have bad movies, you can say, I've got the best one. I'm bringing Virus." Curtis also stated that the commentary track of the 2014 Shout Factory Blu-ray release of Halloween H2O 20 years later that she tried to get the director John Bruno fired because of how bad she thought the film was. Audiences polled by Cinema Score gave the film an average grade of C on an A plus to F scale. All right, moving on to moving on to Deepwater. Moving on to Deepwater. Deepwater is a 2022 erotic psychological thriller film directed by Adrian Lin, from a screenplay by Zach Helm and Sam Livingston, based on the 1957 novel of the same name by Patricia Highsmith. The film stars Ben Affleck and Anna de Armas, with Tracy Letts, Lil Rel Howery, Dash Mihawk, Finn Whitrock, Kristen Connolly, and Jacob Elordi. appearing in supporting roles. It marks Lynn's return to filmmaking after a 20-year absence since his last film, Unfaithful. So yeah, there you go, right there. Yeah. So Deepwater was released on Hulu on March 18th, 2022, following several delays due to the COVID-19 slamdemic. And its budget, I don't know, its budget was $49 million. Don't know how much it made. So let's go to the reception, audience viewership. According to Samba TV, 826,000 U.S. households watched Deepwater during its first weekend on Hulu. According to the streaming aggregator Real Good, Deepwater was the fourth most streamed movie all across all platforms during the week of March 23rd, 2022, the fourth during the week of March 27th, 2022, and the sixth during the week of April 7th, 2022. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 35% of 233 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 4.9 out of 10. The website's consensus reads, viewers desperately seeking a new erotic thriller might find Deepwater worth a dip, but it's far from director Adrian Lynn's best work. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 53 out of 100 based on 46 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Um, Natalia Keoghan of Paste rated the film 8 out of 10, asserting there's a very good chance that the film's zero-sum game will not appeal to everyone, least of all those who flip it on with the hopes of a tumultuous, sex-fueled affair, more akin to the similarly Affleck starring Gone Girl than 50 Shades of Grey, or if we're using Lynn's filmography as a reference, more akin to Lolita than An Innocent Proposal. Deepwater is a sweat-inducing psychological scheme that is constantly aiming to intrigue, and titillate. The paperback pulp origins of Highsmith's original story are kept intact, alleviating any semblance of eye-roll-worthy ridiculousness that doesn't at least try to make an interesting point. As each shocking revelation tacks on another clue in the sprawling mystery, the audience sure just who or what to believe, making the film's fiery ending all the more jaw-dropping. Rex Reed of Observer Media gave Deepwater a grade of 3 out of 4 stars, writing Deepwater has shot effects when and where you least expect them. It's the kind of riveting and dynamic thriller from start to finish we used we used to take for granted in the good old days. Don't see much anymore, and could definitely use a lot more of. David Rooney of The Hollywood Reporter appreciated Lynn's return to filmmaking, but gave the film a negative review and wrote, Lynn's take on the material, scripted without distinction by Zach Helm and Sam Levinson, manages to drain all the subtlety and psychological complexity from Highsmith's story of the marital warfare, transgression, and obsession. Adam Naiman of The Ringer said, thrillers that don't quite stick the landing are common, and considering rumors of a troubled production, Deepwater is far from a disaster or from the salacious camp classic the online hordes seem to be clamoring for. But it's also not good enough to serve as ground zero for some launch a renewal of the erotic thriller. The frustration lies in watching people who know what they are doing fail to completely pull it off. The residual feeling is one of a missed opportunity in the funniest and the overtly Hitchcockian moment. Vic watches as something he tried his best to hide wins, hide winds up coming back into plain sight. Affleck's half guilty, half impatient expression is hilarious, as is his half hearted attempt to push the incriminating thing back out of view. It's the perfect emblem for a movie that isn't really trying to submerge its flaws. Yeah. All right, let's go to Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder is a 2008 satirical action comedy film. Excuse me. Yes, directed by Ben Stiller, who wrote the screenplay with Justin Theroux and Ethan Cohen. The film stars Stiller, Jack Black, Robert Downey Jr., and Jay Baruchel, and Brandon T. Jackson as a group of prima donna actors making a Vietnam War film. When their frustrated director Steve Coogan drops them in the middle of of a jungle, they are forced to rely on their acting skills to survive the real action and danger. Tropic Thunder parodies many prestigious war films, the Hollywood studio system, and method acting. Um, the ensemble cast includes Nick Nolte, Danny McBride, Matthew McConaughey, Bill Hader, and Tom Cruise. Really? Did not know that. And so yeah, its budget. The budget for the movie is between $90 to $92 million. Stiller developed Tropic Thunder's premise during the production of Empire of the Sun in the spring of 1987 and later enlisted Theroux and Cohen to complete a script. The film was greenlit in 2006 and produced by Stuart Kornfeld, Stiller, and Eric McLeod for DreamWorks Pictures and Red Hour Productions as an international co-production between the United States, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Filming took place in 2007 on the Hawaiian island of Kauai, over 13 weeks and was the largest film production in the island's history. The extensive marketing campaign included full websites for 3 of the main characters and their fictional films, a fictional television special, and selling the energy drink advertised in the film, Booty Sweat. Wow. 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 Nobody in the right state of mind in real life is going to be drinking Booty Sweat, man. Don't try this shit at home, folks. Oh man, Tropic Thunder was released in the United States on August 13th, 2008 by DreamWorks Pictures and Paramount Pictures. It received generally positive reviews for its characters, story, full trailers, and cast performances, with Downey being the most positively praised for his performance. However, the depiction of People with disabilities and the use of blackface makeup attracted controversy. Oh boy. Oh man, hold on. The film opened at the top of the American box office and retained the number one position for 3 consecutive weeks, ultimately grossing more than $195 million worldwide before its release on home media on November 18, 2008. Downey was nominated as Best Supporting Actor for an Academy Award, a BAFTA Award, a Screen Actors Guild Award, and a Critics' Choice Movie Award. Let me see. Critics' Choice Movie Award. Yeah, while both he and Cruise received nominations for a Golden Globe. All right, let's go to the reception. Let's go to the reception right here. Critical response. The review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes gives Tropic Thunder a rating of 82% based on 252 reviews and an average rating of 7.1 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, with biting satire, plenty of subversive humor, and an unforgettable turn by Robert Downey Jr. Okay. Yes, the website's critical consensus reads, with biting satire, plenty of, yeah, I already got that part. I already got that part though. With biting satire, plenty of subversive humor, and an unforgettable turn by Robert Downey Jr., Tropic Thunder is a triumphant late summer comedy. Metacritic gave a film score of 71 out of 100 based on 39 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A plus to F scale. Michael Seepley from the New York Times stated that the film was shaping up as one of Paramount's best prospects for the summer. Claudia Puig of USA Today gave the film a somewhat positive review. There are some wildly funny scenes, a few leading ones, and others that are scattered shot, with humorous satire undercut by over-the-top grisliness. Still, when it's funny, it's really funny. Other reviewers were more critical. Todd McCarthy's review in Variety stated, apart from startling out of three, out there, comet turns by Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Cruise. However, the antics here are pretty thin, redundant, and one note. Glenn Kenny of RogerEbert.com said that the film was intermittently amusing, but entirely smug and hateful. Rick Groen of the Globe and Mail said that it was an insult in the guise of a comedy. Watching it is like getting mugged by a clown. That's a different situation, man. J.R. Jones of Chicago Reader stated, the rest of the movie never lives up to the hilarity of the opening, partly because the large-scale production smothers the gags, but mostly because those gags are so easy to smother. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave 3.5 out of 4 and wrote, in quote, the movie is, may I say, considerably better than Stiller's previous film, Zoolander, in 2001. It's the kind of summer comedy that rolls in, makes a lot of people laugh, and rolls onto video. The full trailers before the film also received mixed reviews. David Anson of Newsweek approved of the trailer's Tropic Thunder. Is the funniest movie of the summer, so funny, in fact, that you start laughing before the film itself has begun. Christy Leemeyer of the Associated Press called the trailers the best part of the trip. Robert Will Robert Whelan Robert Wielansky of the Village Voice was critical, saying that the trailer's comedy resides in the land of the obvious easy chuckle. Downey, Stiller, Black, and Cruz were repeatedly singled out for praise by numerous critics, clamoring that they stole the show, were off the charts hilarious, and would bring viewers the fondest memories of their work. Scott Feinberg of the Los Angeles Times criticized the concept of Downey's portrayal of a white actor portraying an African American. I just can't imagine any circumstances under which a blackface performance would be acceptable, any more than I can imagine any circumstance under which the use of the N-word would be acceptable. Sarah Vilcomerson said that Cruz did an astonishingly funny and surprising supporting performance. Logan Hill of New York criticized Cruz's appearance, saying that it just makes him look a little lost and almost pathetic, shucking and jiving, trying to appeal to the younger moviegoers who are abandoning him. Several critics commented on the controversy over lines in the film about the mentally disabled. Dwayne Dudek of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel wrote that the film is just sophomoric enough to offend. And while it is also funny, it is without the empathy or compassion to cause us to wonder why we are laughing. Christian Total of the Washington Times argued against the opposition. Tropic Thunder is drawing fire from special interest groups for its frequent use of the word retard, but discerning audiences will know where the humor is targeted, and they'll be laughing too hard to take offense. Critics list in January 2009, Entertainment Weekly included Tropic Thunder in its list 25 great comedies from the past 25 years for its spot-on skewering of Hollywood. The film also appeared on several critics' top 10 lists of the best films of 2008. Stephen King placed it at the 4th position, calling the film the funniest, most daring comedy of the year. The Oregonian, The Oregonian's Mark Mohan placed it 6th, and several critics placed it 7th. Elizabeth Weitzman of the New York Daily News Premier magazine, Mike Russell of the Oregonian, as well as Peter Hartlaub of the San Francisco Chronicle. David Anson of Newsweek placed it 8th. And Lisa Schwartzbaum of Entertainment Weekly included the film in the 10th position. In 2025, it was one of the films voted for the Reader's Choice edition of the New York Times list of the 100 best movies of the 21st century, finishing at 217. Stacy Snyder, the chief executive of DreamWorks, suggested that the film would earn around $30 million in its opening weekend and go on to be as successful as Borat: Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan which earned $129 million in the U.S. and Canada and $260 million worldwide. The Dark Knight had been the number one film at the box office for the 4 weeks prior to the release of Tropic Thunder. Bob Thompson, a writer for the National Post, speculated that the Tropic Thunder's opening weekend would outperform the Dark Knight for the weekend. In a list compiled prior to the summer's film releases, Entertainment Weekly predicted that the film would be the 10th highest grossing film of the summer at the American box office with $142.6 million. Tropic Thunder opened in 3,319 theaters, and for its first 5 days of American Canadian release, earned $36.8 million. The film placed first in the weekend's box office with $25.8 million, surpassing Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and Mirrors, which debuted the same weekend. Reacting to the film's opening receipts, DreamWorks spokesman Chip Sullivan stated, "We're thrilled. Quite frankly, it played out exactly how we hoped." In foreign markets for the film's opening weekend, it released in 18 Russian and 19 United Arab Emirates locations, earning $2.2 million and $319,000 respectively. The film maintained its number one position at the American and Canadian box office for the following 2 weekends, making it the second film in 2008 to hold the number one position for more than 2 consecutive weekends. The film's widest release was in 3,473 theaters, placing it in the top 25 widest release in the U.S. for 2008. For 2008, the film was the 5th highest grossing domestic R-rated film. The film's U.S. and Canada gross of over $110 million made Tropic Thunder still his most successful film as a director. The film has had gross receipts of $110.5 million in the U.S. and Canada and $85.2 million in international markets for a total of $195.7 million worldwide. In October 2008, Paramount chose to put end of year award push funds behind Tropic Thunder and began advertising for Downey to receive a nomination by the Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actor. In a November 2008 issue by Entertainment Weekly, Downey's film role was considered one of the 3 contenders for Best Supporting Actor. As a way of extending the film within a film universe into real life, there were at least 2 online for your consideration ads touting Downey's character, Kirk Lazarus, for Best Supporting Actor. One of these contains scenes from Satan's Alley that were not in the trailer as released in theaters. At least one of the ads was produced by Paramount Pictures and intended for early for your consideration awareness for Downey's role. On January 22nd, 2009, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences nominated Downey for Best Supporting Actor. At the 81st Academy Awards, Downey lost to Heath Ledger, the late great Heath Ledger, who won posthumously for his role as the Joker in The Dark Knight. And yes, you can hear the fireworks going on where I live right now. It is the 4th of July. Happy birthday 250 to USA. With the onset of the annual Hollywood Films Awards season at the end of 2008, Tropic Thunder began receiving nominations and awards, starting with a win for Hollywood Comedy of the Year at the 12th Annual Hollywood Film Festival on October 27, 2008. The film was nominated for Best Motion Picture, Comedy, or Musical for the Satellite Awards. In addition, Downey was nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. The Broadcast Film Critics Association nominated Downey for Best Supporting Actor and awarded Tropic Thunder Best Comedy Movie at the BFCA's Critics' Choice Award. Downey and Cruz received nominations from the Hollywood Foreign Press Association for Golden Globes for Best Supporting Actor. The Boston Society of Film Critics recognized the cast with its Best Ensemble Award. Downey was also nominated by both the Screen Actors Guild and the British Academy of Film and Television Arts for Best Supporting Actor awards. All right, so let's go to Hard Rain. Hard Rain is a 1998 disaster action thriller film directed by Mikhail Solomon, written by Graham Yost, produced by Ian Bryce, Mark Gordon, and Gary Levison, and starring Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater, Randy Quaid, Minnie Driver, and Ed Asner. An international co-production among the United States, the United Kingdom, Denmark, Germany, and Japan, the film centers on a small Indiana town amidst a natural disaster where a gang attempts to pull off a heist and survive man-made treachery. And it received generally negative reviews and was a box office flop. Damn, that's messed up, man. That's really messed up, though. So, yeah, the budget for this movie was $70 million. Yeah, you can tell why it was a disaster. Yeah. Hard Rain opened on the Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend in 1998, earning fifth place with $7.1 million from Friday to Saturday, and $8 million including the holiday Monday. The film made a total gross of $19.9 million in the U.S. against a $70 million production budget. Due to its poor box office performance in the U.S., the film was released straight to video in most countries. The film gained a significant following in the video rental market. Evans Bytix of the San Francisco Examiner praised the film, saying it's just fast moving. It's got fine special effects. The hero and heroine are pure and quick thinking. The bad people die badly, and the script draws its fair share of laughs. Yeah. Timeout.com gave it a positive review, comparing the plot favorably to writer Graham Yost's earlier, more financially successful project, Speed. I remember that movie, 1984, and suggested that it could be considered a spiritual sequel to Speed. Starpost.com praised the action scenes of Hard Rain, yet criticized the plot, calling it mindless yet entertaining. Lawrence Van Gelder of the New York Times gave it a mixed review, praising the cast, disaster, and special effects, but criticizing the plot, concluding, for all the talent and effort involved, Hard Rain turns out to be routine entertainment. Particularly negative review came from Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, who gave the film 1 star out of a possible 4 and stated, Hard Rain is one of those movies that never convince you its stories are really happening. From beginning to end, I was acutely, aware of actors being paid to stand in cold water. Suspension of my disbelief in this case would have required psychotropic medications. Although he criticized the plot and some of the casting, he did praise the special effects. On the TV show Siskel and Ebert and the movies, Ebert and his colleague Gene Siskel gave the film 2 thumbs down, commenting on its commercial performance. Total Film called it the biggest flop of 1998, but said it deserved to perform better because of its fun, tension-cranking moments. Christopher Young's score praised was praised. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds a 34% approval rating based on 47 reviews with an average rating of 4.5 out of 10. The site's critics consensus reads Hard Rain, the R-rated movie, is an implausible heist movie soaked in disaster movie trappings. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 36 out of 100 based on reviews from 17 critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B- on an A+ to F scale. Now we go to The Beach. The Beach is a 2000 adventure drama film directed by Danny Boyle from a screenplay by John Hodge based on the 1996 novel by Alex Garland, a British-American co-production. The film stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Tilda Swinton, Virginie Ledoyen, Guillaume Canet, and Robert Carlyle. The plot centers on a young American backpacker and a French couple who discover a colony of people living on an uninhabited island and contend with the local dangers there. It was filmed on the Thai island of Koh Phi Phi Lay. Wow. Yeah, this is another R-rated movie, and its movie budget is $50 million. All right. Yeah, so the film was released on February 11, 2000 by 20th Century Fox. It was a box office success, grossing $144.1 million against a $50 million budget, but received mixed reviews from critics who praised the film's scenery, soundtrack, and DiCaprio's performance, but criticized it as a muddled adaptation that loses the book's themes and social commentary. Let me see. So we go to the critical response. I'm not gonna get to the production stuff, man. I'm not gonna go through all this stuff. I'm not gonna go through that. So on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 21% of 122 critics' reviews are positive. With an average rating of 4.5 out of 10, the website's consensus reads, critics say The Beach is unfocused and muddled, a shallow adaptation of the novel it is based on. Points go to the gorgeous cinematography, though. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 43 out of 100 based on 34 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of C on a scale of A+ to F. Critics suggested DiCaprio's post-Titanic fame might have contributed to the financial success of this film, which came out less than 3 years after the James Cameron blockbuster. CNN's Paul Clinton said Leonardo DiCaprio's main fan base of screaming adolescent girls won't be disappointed with The Beach. The majority of the film displays the Titanic-sized young heartthrob sans his shirt in this story about the pseudo-angst and alienation of a young man from the United States escaping civilization and his computer-obsessed generation. He agrees with most others that the beach was nothing to write home about. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times said the film missed out on exploring the darker themes of the novel. He wrote, watching the beach is like experiencing a script conference where only sequences are discussed, never the whole film. There are elements here for a romantic triangle, for a man against the jungle drama, for a microcosm uh, of civilization palatable, or for a cautionary lesson about trying to be innocent in a cruel world. And that's material for satire or insight, I guess, although the movie offers none. In a positive review, Wesley Morris of the San Francisco Chronicle wrote, despite a flat finale and some laughable hypothesizing about pursuits of liberty, the movie has its own addictive elements. Well used electronica, there is Kanji's photography, and the nonstop charisma of its star. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone praised DiCaprio's performance, writing DiCaprio delivers strongly, showing Richard as selfish, manipulative, cowardly, and dangerously naive. Hold on. Um, all of which makes the young man's hard-won maturity more affecting. The film has gained retrospective praise. With critics singling out Boyle's visual flourishes, Kanji's cinematography, and DiCaprio's choice to make an unconventional, commercially risky film at the height of Leo mania. Writing the Atlantic, Joe Reed said, positioned squarely between the boyishness of his 1990s work and the calcified smugness of his Scorsese and beyond adult period. The beach sits at a fascinating crossroads of youth and respectability for DiCaprio. His performance pulls from all corners of his arsenal. It's sexy and brave and wild-eyed and eventually exceedingly vulnerable. I can't say whether it was a failure of the beach that it did, but DiCaprio has never been this adventurous on screen since. And he's certainly never been this risky when it comes to selecting projects. In 2025, director Danny Boyle admitted his problems with the film. Everybody during production was having parties, and there were all sorts of goings on. They were all out in Thailand on the per diems, and everybody was having a wild time. For me, it was just like I was struggling uphill the whole time. Um, all right, so Danny Boyle got a nomination for the Berlin International Film Festival for Berlin Golden Berlin Bear, Brit Awards, Best Soundtrack, Golden Trailer Awards, Best Voiceover got a nomination. Um, Teen Choice Awards, man. Choice Drama, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Virginie Ledoyen, Choice Chemistry got a nomination. And of course, let's go to Stillwater. Stillwater is a 2021 American crime drama film directed by Tom McCarthy based on a script he co-wrote it with Marcus Hinchy, Thomas Bidegane, and Noe Debray. It is the first DreamWorks Pictures film to be distributed by Universal's specialty focus label, Focus Features. It stars Matt Damon as Bill Baker, an unemployed oil rig worker from Oklahoma who sets out with a French woman, Camille Cotton, to prove his convicted daughter, Abigail, Breslin's innocence. So yeah. Yeah, the film had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival on July 8th, 2021, and was released theatrically in the United States on July 30th, 2021 by Focus Features. It received generally positive reviews from critics and grossed $19 million against a $20 million budget. Damn. Stillwater grossed $14.6 million in the United States and Canada and $5.4 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $19.8 million. In the United States and Canada, Stillwater was released alongside Jungle Cruise and The Green Knight and was projected to gross around $5 million from 2,531 theaters in its opening weekend. The film made $1.8 million on its first day, including $280,000 from Thursday night previews. It went on to debut with $5.2 million, finishing fifth. The film fell 45% to $2.6 million in its second weekend, remaining in fifth place. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 75% of 199 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 6.6 out of 10. The website's consensus reads, Stillwater isn't perfect, but its thoughtful approach to intelligent themes and strong performances from its leads gives this timely drama a steadily building power. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 60 out of 10. No, excuse me, 60 out of 100. 60 out of 100. Hold on 1 second. Nah, I'm good. Yeah, Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 60 out of 100 based on 41 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B- on an A+ to F scale, while 63% of post-track audiences members gave it a positive score, with 34% saying they would definitely recommend it. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film a score of 3.5 out of 4 stars, describing it as provocative and stirring, and praising Damon's performance as Bill Baker, but wrote, in quote, Bill is also prone to rash actions, which leads to a relatively late development in Stillwater that is jarring and misguided, and lands this movie just short of greatness. David Sims of the Atlantic noticed similarities between the film and the director Tom McCarthy's previous film, The Visitor, and Win-Win, but added McCarthy's excellent, if sprawling script is more interested in the humans behind the headlines and the messy ways people try to reconcile their grief and guilt after indescribable trauma. Simran Hands of The Observer gave the film a score of 3 out of 5 stars, describing it as a meaningful, naughty character study, albeit one nestled inside and polished and less interesting action thriller. As you can hear the fireworks going on right there, people are excited to celebrate this day. Brian Lowry of CNN was more critical of the film, writing that it confounds expectations in mostly frustrating ways, and that it runs long but doesn't run particularly deep, or at least not quite deep enough. Clarice Lowry of The Independent gave the film a score of 2 out of 5 stars, describing it as an empty gesture of a film, and wrote, it doesn't reckon with the injustice Knox faced. Nor does it sympathize with her time behind bars. She doesn't even get to be the main character. That would be Matt Damon's Bill Baker, Allison's father, a completely fictional character with none of this family's details matching up to Knox's. Amanda Knox, whose real life story is thought to have inspired the movie, denounced the film and its creators on Twitter, well, it's now X now, for profiting from her wrongful conviction and for distorting the facts of her story. Knox said, by fictionalizing away my innocence, my total lack of involvement, by erasing the role of the authorities in my wrongful conviction, McCarthy reinforces an image of me as a guilty and untrustworthy person. All right. All right, on to all right, all right. I want to go to the video game entertainment room right now. We got some video game news to talk about here. Hold on. All right. Let me go to. All right. Let me go to one of the gaming topics here. Hold on. Go to the gaming topics right here. Let me see. Yeah, some gaming topics. Let me see. Let me find it. Yeah, here we go. I'm just gonna do one video game topic though, man. I'm not gonna have time to do the others. All right. According to Game Rant, Xbox is apparently working on a way that users could digitize physical games that they own on Xbox One and Xbox Series X, possibly to encourage existing owners to upgrade to the next generation of Xbox. Xbox has a new system in development called Project Helix, which will be the successor of the Xbox Series. Details about the system are limited at this time, but the company is already starting to build hype for the console ahead of a full reveal. Video game fans have long worried about companies phasing out disk drives. The Xbox Series S does not have a disk drive, and multiple PS5 models do not offer the option of playing physical games. PlayStation confirmed PlayStation confirmed it will be phasing out disc in 2028, and that could mark a major change for the video game industry as a whole. I know Andy from Andy's Randomness is probably disappointed in Sony getting rid of the physical feature, the physical feature of the disc. I'll touch on that in the next episode. I would touch on that actually in the next episode. I'll save that for another time. Project Helix reportedly won't have a disk drive, which would prevent current Xbox Series X or Xbox One owners from using their existing physical games on the new system. According to a report from The Verge. Xbox is looking into a way that players could digitize physical games they own ahead of the new system's launch. Details have not been officially confirmed, but users would basically get a digital entitlement for the game by putting it in an Xbox with a disk drive. That entitled entitlement is specific to each disk, and it would belong to that Xbox user across systems as long as the disk isn't sold or lent to another user. If someone else were to put the game in their Xbox console, they would then get the digital entitlement. According to the report, the entitlement would work just like any other digital purchase from Xbox. That means users might be able to play it through cloud streaming. If it's a play anywhere game, if it's a play anywhere game, it would have all the same accessibility on other devices like PC or on handhelds like the ROG Xbox Ally. The negative side is that this would seemingly only work for games released on the Xbox Series X and some that came out on Xbox One. That means physical Xbox and Xbox 360 games that are certainly playable on Xbox Series X won't be eligible for a digital entitlement on Project Helix. Xbox has not officially confirmed plans for the digital entitlement program, but the feature is apparently in the testing phase. A lot of gamers are unhappy about the prospect of abandoning physical media, but the option might ease some frustrations. Xbox has struggled in the current generation, and the company will need its most passionate users to make Project Helix a success. Ensuring that current users don't lose access to games ensuring that current users don't lose access to games they purchased over the last 6 years or more could help in that regard. There are a lot of questions left unanswered about the next Xbox. RAM shortages could impact the Project Helix price, and Xbox has to find a way to convince lapsed fans that there's still value in the company's products. Without a release window or full details, though, fans are going to have to wait and see exactly what to expect from the new system. Now, I said I was going to talk about some places where you can watch the fireworks and stuff. I know it's past 9 o'clock right now, but I think it's worth mentioning right now, though, man. So New York, some fun activities to watch the fireworks includes New York City offers spectacular fireworks viewing from waterfront parks, observation decks, rooftop bars, and cruises, and prime locations along the East and Hudson Rivers. Waterfront parks and public spaces, the Brooklyn Bridge Park and Promenade offering sweeping views of Lower Manhattan and the Brooklyn Bridge. Ideal for photos and family gatherings. Arrive early as it gets crowded. Gantry Plaza State Park, Long Island City, quieter for waterfront park with unobstructed views of the Manhattan skyline and East River fireworks. FDR Drive elevated sections provide elevated public viewing along East 23rd to East 42nd Streets in Manhattan. South Street Seaport, Piers 15 and Pier 17, close to the fireworks barges with historic ships and Brooklyn Bridge as a backup. Domino Park, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, offers a 6-acre waterfront space with skyline views, perfect for picnics and casual viewing. Coney Island Beach, a festive seaside option with boardwalk energy and fireworks over the Atlantic. Liberty State Park, Jersey City, wide open lawns and dramatic views of Manhattan, the Statue of Liberty, and Ellis Island. Governor's Island, accessible by ferry, providing elevated areas and ample space for picnics and family activities. Hunters Point, South Park, Queens, less crowded than Gantry Plaza, with excellent East River views. Transmitter Park, Greenpoint, a smaller, quieter waterfront park with Manhattan skyline views. Observation decks, edge at Hudson Yards, 1,100 feet above the city, offering 360 views of both rivers and the skyline, and ticketed events including food and drinks. One World Observatory floor 100 provides panoramic views of NYC and the fireworks with themed events and souvenir photos. Empire State Building of observation decks on the 86th and 102nd floors offer prime views, often with ticketed Independence Day events. Summit One Vanderbilt offers multi-floor access, premium drinks, and interactive experiences for fireworks viewing. Um, you have top of the Rockefeller Center. This is ticketed. Hope you got your tickets for that. Ticketed events with food, drinks, and live entertainment, rooftop bars and restaurants. Harriet's Rooftop, One Hotel Brooklyn Bridge, panoramic views of Manhattan and Brooklyn Bridge with cocktails and buffet options. Westlight Brooklyn Rooftop Bar with unobstructed views of Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan. Art Williamsburg and Art Soho rooftop parties with DJs, cocktails, and skyline views. The Skylark Midtown 30-story cocktail lounge with indoor and outdoor seating for fireworks viewing. Bar Sema, Grayson Hotel, 28th floor terrace with Empire State Building and Hudson River views. Art Midtown, Arlo Midtown, open air rooftop with BBQ buffet and panoramic views of the Hudson River fireworks. Of course, you got cruises and water experiences. Circle Line landmark cruise, 4-hour cruise along the Hudson River with front row views of the fireworks, foods, drinks, and live DJ. Atlantis Yacht Premium Cruise, gourmet buffet, unlimited drinks, and reserved seating on a large outdoor deck. Hornblower Infinity Mega Yacht offering live music, buffet dinner, and prime harbor views. NYC, New York City water cruises from Pier 36, scenic cruises along the East River and Manhattan waterfront, ideal for unstructured fireworks viewing. If you got a ticket already, you make sure you get a chance to get there early as possible. To secure a good spot, especially at popular parks and piers. Consider ticketed rooftop or observations deck events for a less crowded premium experience. You can bring blankets, snacks, and water for comfort during long waits. Public transportation is recommended as parking is limited and streets may be closed. Whether you prefer a relaxed park picnic, a sky-high observation deck, or a luxurious cruise, NYC offers a variety of unforgettable vantage points to enjoy the fireworks spectacular. Also, you can check out Clinton Hill Park. You can also have a way to actually watch the fireworks over there. I know there was a barbecue that was going on earlier, as Ken Stars was talking about on Tri-State of Mind on Hot 97 earlier. So it's not too late to actually go there to check out the fireworks over there as well. Macy's 4th of July fireworks start time viewing. Yes, so the Macy's 4th of July fireworks special will air live streaming at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC and will be simulcast live on Peacock, NBC, New York 1. A Spanish language simulcast will also air on Telemundo, blah, blah, at the same time as NBC New York. The 2-hour show will feature more than 85,000 shells in 30 colors launched from 6 barges over the lower East River and the lower Hudson River. which is Brooklyn Bridge, plus a new latest show from the Brooklyn Bridge, NBC New York One. It will be accompanied by a 27-minute musical scored by Jason Holland and a vocal performance by The Voice season 29 winner Alexa J. Yeah, so I know it started already. But it's airing right now on ABC. If you are at home right now, make sure you go to NBC right now, where you can watch it, where you can watch the fireworks on there, man. So you can watch it on NBC or Peacock, and you can also check out the live stream on the NBC for New York YouTube channel page. All right. So there you go, right there, man. There you go, right there. Ah, man. All right. Okay. Finally, I'm about to be out of here. Real soon. Hold on a sec. Okay, stream choices on the go. Hold on. All right, man. We're going to get ready on the last segment of the night, which is stream choices on the go. Let's do it. All right, folks, here's the deal, man. You can follow Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast on Facebook alongside with Bluesky Social, Threads, and Instagram. And the same goes for my other shows. The Sports Edition show, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast. I just recorded episode 123 and left y'all with a question. Who do you think the Mets should go for during the trade deadline or whatever? Should they go for starting pitching or more baseball prospects? That was the question I just left there. I left that on the community tab of the Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Sports YouTube channel page community tab. Check that out as well. And Off the Meat Rat Chains New York Avenue podcast as well. It's going to be returning next week. And of course, you can follow your host with the most, G Money Stacks 555 in Queens, New York. At G Money Stacks 555 in Queens, New York on Threads and Instagram as well. Now, listen, man. Even though I'm not going to be able to get the episodes on streaming platforms, I'm using a temporary laptop Chromebook. I'm not able to go on Spotify for creators and Riverside, but you can check out the episodes on the YouTube channel page of Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast Entertainment YouTube channel page. Make sure you subscribe onto the channel. Share the videos with your friends. Subscribe to the channel, share, spread the word. Word of mouth is important. And of course, be sure to also to turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any episodes whatsoever. And yeah, man, I'm out to get up out of here. That's gonna do it for me. I'm your man G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator. Rhymes went now or later, like the candy. And I like to say thank you to every single one of you for being patient with me, rocking with me. Even though I can't put the episodes on streaming platforms right now, but when I get a new laptop, I will gladly make up for it. All right? And hopefully I'll be able to get me a new job. Hopefully. Remember, the grind doesn't stop. Hard work pays off. If you want something, you have to work hard and earn it. It's not going to be given to you on a fucking silver platter. If you plan on making a podcast, make sure you have your niche, your wins, your whats, your whys, your hows, your wins and stuff, and what your podcast is basically about. Don't let anybody tell you that there's no money into something that you're trying to build and create. These things take time, years. You know what I'm saying? And of course, let me just mention this. Let me just mention this though. Be on your P's and Q's. Be on your P's and Q's mentally, emotionally, creatively, physically, and spiritually. That gets you into your zone alongside with tunnel vision. All right? Now, I'm going to see y'all next time in the next episode. Stay tuned for more new topics in the next episode. I want to say peace and one love. I hope y'all are having a good time right now, watching the fireworks right now, man. And yeah, man. And yeah, peace and one love. Be careful out there. Be safe out there. And of course, though, man, happy 250th birthday and happy 4th of July to every single one of you out there, especially in the USA, international, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, the tri-state areas of New Jersey, Connecticut, and the 5 boroughs of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. Have fun. Be careful. Be safe out there. And in the words of Ken Stars, have a good night, everybody. Enjoy your 4th of July and the 250th birthday of the USA. Peace. Good night, everybody.